Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a really cool, not build, it's going to be a restoration, or we'll call it a survivor restoration. So I'm not going to make it perfect, but this 1963 Schwinn Tiger I bought from the original owner, and it's in original condition. And so I'm going to try to respect it as much as possible and keep it as original as possible. But I want to get rid of some of the rust and some of the crud, and I have obviously 60 years of grease isn't going to cut it anymore, so it all has to be gone through and opened up. I got to replace a few things like tires and pedals, and most interestingly, there is something I find inside the bike that the previous owner hid there, probably from when he was a kid. So make sure you sit back and enjoy the build and join me in the shop. Oh, good Lord, that's heavy. 50 pounds of American steel. Loving it. All right, this bike is a 1963, I believe. I'll correct it if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 63. And we'll start by taking off this stem and bars. These bars are huge. At first I thought, are you kidding me? And then the more when I sat on it, I was thinking, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. So I'll keep them, obviously. But I need to get this off. This bike has been unmolested since 1963. And I bought it from the original owner who owned this thing when it was brand new. Used to, all right, that's not gonna work. All right, we'll use this instead. Anyways, I bought this from the original owner. Look at that, come right out. And he used to deliver newspapers on it back in the mid 60s. And it's got both of these cool racks on it, which are going to take some time to clean up. Essentially, I'm not going to have to buy a lot of new parts for it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to try to do a survivor build, which means I'm not going to restore it, but I'm going to make it functionally 100% again and looking as good as it could without having to, respraying, redecal. I'm not worried about it looking like a piece of artwork or like it came out of the showroom. I just want it to, wrong one. I just want it to look like it survived the last 60 years or so. So that's what we're going to do. I know some of you guys like to see things restored. And that's not going to be the case on this one. So before you can take the rear wheel off, I'll show you. Yeah, so what we got to do is we got to take off this brake arm. So the brake arm wedges itself to the frame for a coaster brake. And of course, it goes. Boy, am I doing this gracefully. And there we go. And this bike, of course, being American, everything is in English. 9/16 front bolts for the front wheel. Oh, that's cool. So because there's a rack on it, I gotta take the nuts all the way off. I'm used to, obviously, if you guys seen my other bike builds, I'm used to using metric tools and a lot of Allen keys. I don't think there's a single Allen on this bike. Just a lot of steel. It looks like this is the only new thing on the bike. Or newer, I should say. Oops, I go the wrong way. Must have lost the bolt. So, there's the rack. Let's see about this headset. Or if I can make some more noise. If you're watching this in the living room nice and quiet, sorry, I'm making a bunch of noise. Oh, that's an awful noise. Bearings are actually in really good shape. Just obviously turned into varnish and dry as a popcorn fart. But those will work. Same with the lower ones. Very good shape, just very dry. All right, if you've ever worked on an old Schwinn before, you know the fender's held on with a big old bolt at the bottom here using a standard screwdriver. And let's see if it'll come out. I don't. Normally they don't. And this one does not. So I'm going to soak it with a little bit of, what is this called? PB Blaster. We're going to soak that and see if we can get those threads to be loose. I'm going to also squirt down through the top of the... Let's see if I can get that thing to loosen up. That's what this stuff's for. Okay, we're going to let that sit for quite a while. All right, so there's one little cool detail. This bike was sold by a little bike shop in Royal Oak, Michigan. I bought this bike from the guy, the original owner, in Royal Oak, Michigan. It's also got a bicycle license from Royal Oak, Michigan, 1969. So I'm going to preserve those stickers and that. I'm going to put that badge back on. I might replace the little strap with something more interesting. But what's kind of cool, and I'll show you a picture of the building where this was. It's obviously no longer a bike shop, but it's right here. Yep, that's the Detroit School of Rock. So anyways, kind of a cool little detail about this bike. It's a good idea when you're using a tool like this that when you're pounding it out, usually I put a rag here. I try to. Because if this thing comes flying out, these little guys are kind of sharp and they'll bite. So a rag is recommended. I do hope I remember where all these screws go. Maybe I ought to do something so I don't forget. And it looks like, if I remember, it says like I have to remember that the fender arms went on the outside of the rear rack. Try to remember that. And I'm very lucky that this has some rust on it, but it's not like it's covered in rust. So I'm very lucky with that. Some of these bikes have just been let go, but this one was taken care of quite well. One thing you can tell it's a Chicago Schwinn. It's because of, let's get a focus, the way these rear stays have this indentation here. And then also, you can see the way the rear stay gets welded to the bottom bracket. A couple indicators that know that it was built in Chicago. And a little tidbit of, you probably didn't know that, is I grew up in the Chicago area. Well, look at that. Seat post is not stuck. I'm gonna have to hold this bike up so I don't fall. And put this back in. All right. Very elegant way to remove a rear rack. All right, so the reason I was struggling is, and these are very unique. So they actually have the initials of Schwinn on here. You can barely see it, but these have keyways. See that underneath? This one doesn't have a keyway. Well, let's look at the other side. Yeah, that one's got the keyway. So the bolt's supposed to be coming this way. So it locks in place. For now, we'll put the seat back in. Boy, that thing moves nice. Can you imagine being this old and the seat post is not stuck in there? So 50-year-old security to make sure your license was not moved from bike to bike. You see this thing was swedged on there. Oh, doesn't look like it's very secure. It came right out. Maybe back in the day it held better. But we'll come up with something a little more interesting for that. That's super cool. All right, let's see if we can get these off. Oh, nothing to it. I'm not going to save these pedals. They're way too far gone. So this is one of the new things, along with tires, of course. It's going to get replaced. Whenever I go at these old fender bolts, I always kind of say a little prayer. Hopefully, oh, that one came off. How lovely is that? So the good thing is I want to try to save all the original fasteners too. Yeah, check out the little spiders in here. Mm-hmm. Ah. There we go. Oh. On this side of the bike, they have reverse threads for this. Sometimes I go back and forth a little bit just to loosen it up, though. Then there's a nice washer. Key. Great shape. Look at that. Comes right off. Yeah. Good shape. Pop that bearing out. Great shape. Comes out easier when you take both bearings out. I do want to try to save the chain, and this chain actually has a quick release. You can see it right here. And I believe you just kind of bend the chain in and then kind of pop them off. Another elegant. Follow me for more elegant tips on how to restore a bicycle. There we go. All right, here's a tool tip of the day. This was an old screwdriver, and I broke the plastic handle off the screwdriver, and it's now become an incredibly awesome persuader. I guess we'll call it a persuader. Things like doing this. Boom. And you can't find that on Amazon. All right, well, so the first step I'm going to do in this, now that everything's apart for the most part, except for that fender, it's still soaking. I try it every once in a while. But we're going to clean the frame, the fenders, everything I possibly can with this stuff, which is, it's totally awesome. And actually in Spanish, la totally awesome. Or no, it's LA's totally awesome. Get this at the dollar store. But it is totally awesome. But I'm not going to bore you with all the cleaning, but that's what I'm going to do next. And then the other thing I do after it's cleaned, I take this angle iron with this spongy stuff on it here and just some fine cut cleaner, T-cut, whatever you can use. Just put it on here and then just polish it up. It gets a nice shine. And then I'm going to come back and finish it with a coat of this stuff. Just some ceramic coater, cleaner. That'll seal it like wax. It gives it a nice shine, makes it feel good. All right, and then this is kind of honky tonk, but easiest way to make little Schwinn stand out is take Sharpie. And then when I spray it with the ceramic coating, it might seal it in, it might not. Honestly, don't care. I'm going to put a little bit of this on there and see how it goes. All right, another honky tonk thing here. I'm actually going to try to sand the rust off of this and just get it one color and then see how that goes. well, clean this up really good. That the rust is in there pretty good, so I have to just live with it. And then, just to protect it so it won't rust, I'm going to spray some of that ceramic coating on there. There's a little bit of a clear coat, sort of. And we're going to go with that. As good as some of this gets. All right, I said I wasn't going to paint anything, but this pedal rub right across where it says Tiger, right, and maybe along here, I just want to touch this up just a little bit with some paint. So get some rattle can stuff. Whoop, gravity. Let me spray some into the bottom of the cap. Take a little brush and very willy-nilly, we're going to just cover up some of this. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, what is this guy doing? Well, it's my bike. I can do what I want, I guess. All right, now while that's drying, I'm going to try this again. What I'm going to do, still doesn't want to let loose. So I'm going to take my handy, used to be a screwdriver. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to give it a little bit of impact. And I'm hoping that that will, wow, it wedged itself in there. I'm hoping that will loosen things up. No, not yet. I guess I could get by without removing it. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, back to this thing. Let's pretend I know where this goes. Oh, I think that looks pretty good. And this guy. And to fix that, I got it out. All right, I gotta show you guys this. This is awesome. So I was in the middle of taking the grips off of this thing. And I was thinking, what's in here? Took the grips off inside the end of the handlebars. And you can appreciate this if you grew up in the 60s and 70s. Firecrackers hidden in the handlebar ends. Busted. That's freaking awesome. All right, so I want to take this off. This is a bearing race that's actually screwed onto the cranks here, so I'm going to lay it in the vise because I don't have a tool big enough. Hold it in place. And of course this vise, hopefully. There we go. Here we go. All right, so I made an executive decision. I'm not going to mess with this bolt because in the past I've broken these. If you break them, it's all over. So it's going to deal with it the way it is. One thing I'm going to do, I already did polish up the paint on all these so it's nice and shiny along with the patina that it's got. But I'm going to take and sand the rust off of these to get it as close as I can down to metal again. And there again, I'm going to just put a little bit of clear on it to protect it and prevent it from rusting anymore. But again, this is a survivor build, and I'm not trying to make a showpiece. I'm trying to make a cool looking piece, one that I can ride and enjoy. So, anyways. All right, so this sanded the rust off. It's going to hit it with a little bit of clear. Got 8 of them to do. 4 in the front, 4 in the back. So that's it. Just protect it. All right, so next is all the little bits and pieces that have rust on them. I could go and do some elbow grease, but I'm going to just give it some vapor rust for a nice soak. And we'll get that tomorrow after it sits 24 hours. And then I'll rub them. And then the other hands-free stuff that I'm going to do for now is to load all the greasy bits into the sonic washer. And along that, an old XT derailleur is going to go along for the ride. It needs some cleaning. Hopefully I don't lose my chain parts. There we go. So into it goes. And nice long buzz. All right, at the end of day 1, I still have yet to polish these chrome bits because those are actually in pretty good shape now. Well, those were good, just got cleaned. Now I gotta polish them up. Schwinn chrome is pretty darn good from back in the day. We've got chain and the rusty bits soaking overnight. Okay, we've got a clean and polished fender with the rust taken care of on the stays. Along with that fender, the seat's clean. All those pieces and parts are good. The frame is good, clean. Got the nice shiny chain guard. Back there, I've got both racks with lots of rust in the nooks and crannies. So we're going to have to do something about those. So that's next on the agenda, those. And, oh, of course, the wheels, which are going to be a challenge. So anyways, if you were wondering about doing a Schwinn like this, although they look pretty simple, no gears, nothing, they're really much more challenging and much more time consuming than like an old mountain bike or something. So anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Little oxalic acid. How much? About that much. And we're going to take these racks, which have a lot of little nooks and crannies, and we're going to soak them in this. Try to get all the rust off. So, 50-year-old tires. Guess I held up pretty well. This thing's cool. Keeps the smudge off the hub. Looks like it kind of did a good, decent job. I'll take that off for now. I'll clean it. I put those back on. Wow, they're actually leather. That's cool. All right, so the correct thing to do in this case, if I was restoring it, would like true restoring, is to replace at least the spokes. That way you could really get a good clean on the rims, which need some scrubbing, which will take me forever. But also some of the spokes are a little rusty. So, and one's bent and some of them are loose. But since I'm doing a survivor type build here, I'm going to clean the spokes with something like this little sandpaper. Kind of knock the rust off a little bit. And then we'll do a little trick later on to protect them. But at least it'll look good. And yeah, it'll keep the old look a little bit too. So that'll take me a while. So 36 spokes, 72 altogether. After that, after I clean it and I get these rims done, I'm going to replace the grease and everything in the hubs and get the hubs all nice and clean and polish up the chrome rims, and then we'll true it, tighten the spokes because those look like they've never been tightened. Yeah, pretty loose. So we need to tighten the spokes and true the wheel, and it'll be like new, although it still spins pretty well. Anyways, let me get at that. All right, so I did find out that these, you can see there's a little bit of rust in the base of every one of these nipples. And so I did squirt some PB Blaster and let it sit for a little bit to get these spokes a little bit tightened. And then I've also found I have to kind of hold on to this spoke to make sure it doesn't spin, which helps break the nipple loose. Yeah, because otherwise, if you don't hold on to it, and if it's a little bit rusty and rusted together, the whole spoke twists and you can break it. Yeah, like see, comes right back. So if you hold on to it with a pliers, you can break it loose, and then yeah, you can actually get the thing to turn. So something to think about on these old spokes that have a little bit of rust in them. Yeah, that one even, I'm gonna hold it a little tighter. There we go. Yep. So, like I said, the right thing to do is to replace all the spokes. I think they're safe. It's not like it's dangerous or anything like that. And I'm just trying to get them all tightened up so it's nice and snug. All right, so to clean the rims, I'm going to go through a multi-step process to get the rust. You can see there's a little bit. The rust is not bad, actually, for as old a bike as this is. But what we're going to do is you take aluminum foil, and I ran water over it. There's actually water in it. And the first thing I do is run the aluminum foil across the surface. And that literally knocks the little rust pieces off. Dry that off. You can see already looks great. And then the next thing I'll do is I'll run through with some just basic old chrome polish and polish everything up. So just sit back and listen to some music, and probably take me an hour, I don't know, to get this rim done, but it'll be kind of worth it. All right, so now the rim It's clean, spokes are tight, and actually this is already loose. Why is it every bike has fuzz on it? It seems like everything is always like that. So we'll get in here and replace, which I not replaced, probably put in grease that's not there. Because after 50 plus years, it's gonna need some lube. What I found is this little solvent washer is perfect because you can lay a wheel in it and clean, scrub along with brushes. You can clean the hubs up really easy. Otherwise, it's kind of a mess. But I have a whole nother video just on this parts washer. There'll be a link in the description below. I do love this little grease gun. It helps get into places cheap. Got a link in the description if you want to find it. Boom, 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 boom. One more grease. This guy on. Oh. All right, so now wheel is ready for tires. All right, so for the tires, I got these replacement. They're actually specifically for Schwinn. You can see S7 tubular, 26 2 by, or 26 by 2 and 1 3/4. So they are 26-inch tires, but not just any 26s will fit. You have to find one that is a S7 to fit Schwinn. It's one of those crazy little things about Schwinn that some people don't realize when they dig into them. So, but they got these nice. They're the exact same tires what was on it 60 years ago. So we'll put this back on. All right, now here's the rear. And the rear, I'm going to go through a similar process. Oh, let me get this on here. Big old Betty. But the big difference is I got this coaster brake hub. So I'm not going to kill you with the details on the spokes and so forth. I'll do that, take care of it, and then we'll get into the hub. And just a single speed. It's not a kickback or anything special, but we'll get into the hub and re-grease it, which becomes a little tricky, but we'll show you how that works in just a bit. All right, so this guy is not very smooth. It's, well, I mean, talking 60 years old plus bike, probably never been inside this, so it's gotta have some nasty grease. So unfortunately, we gotta take this all apart and get in there and re-lube everything so it's good for another 60 years, 30 years, maybe, whatever. This is cool. Bendix made in USA. Kind of cool. Oh, I guess I didn't need a tool. These are the brake pads. There's some of the grease that's left over from a long time ago. Surprisingly good shape. Actually pretty good shape in there, but we're going to get it all cleaned up and re-lubed and reinstalled. The interesting thing is this is the way the hub goes. You got an outer bearing here, there's an inner bearing here, and then another bearing out here. So there's three sets of bearings in this hub, along with the brake pads. All right, now got everything cleaned, which took forever. Hub, rims, all the pieces, parts, clean as a whistle. Really cool stuff about old Schwinn stuff is they say they're stamped in Schwinn or Bendix or whatever. Not cool. All right, so these pieces, parts. And hopefully I remember how to put it together. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load all these bearings up with grease. And I'm sure there's some special grease for free hubs, or for, not free hubs, for coaster brake hubs, but I'm using some wheel bearing grease, marine wheel bearing grease. That's usually what I use on a lot of the stuff I have. So I'm going to pack these guys full, stage them. Okay, mess. That screws on, it's threaded as well. So what happens is when you pedal forward, it goes fine. When you pedal backwards, it pushes this out, pushes it out, and it drives these guys, these wedges right up this ramp, and they wedge themselves into the body of the hub, and that's the brake surface right there. This side's ready to go. And all you guys who do this a lot, who are watching this video, you're welcome to tell me how I'm doing it wrong, because I don't do these a lot. Even though it's a friction surface, I believe we still need to grease up the surface a little bit. This guy goes here. This guy goes down in here and spins in place. We'll lock it in place. And then there we go. Now we got it right. Then we put the brake pads in there. These wedges need to go in there as well. And that one goes in. There we go. Now he goes in. And the brake arm goes on. And that's it. Now it's all lubed up. Brake works. Everything is nice and smooth. Ready for service. Just got to put the nuts back on. We're all set. Now the only thing left to do on this is to install the tire. Okay, so after days and days and days of taking the parts apart, scrubbing them, we got Evaporest, oxalic acid, Sonic parts washer, solvent tank, along with lots of elbow grease and lots of uh, just intense cleaning, I guess, and rust removal and polishing. This thing is ready for assembly. Hats off to you guys who do Schwinns all the time. They're a simple bike, but a lot of work compared to a vintage mountain bike where maybe you're just swapping some parts, doing a little here and there. These things are definitely a lot of work. So when you see one for sale and you're interested in buying one that's been restored, please respect the effort that's gone into making it what it is, especially you guys who actually bring them back to original, which this is not, but still a lot of work. Anyways, so let's get these parts back, 50 pounds of parts, put them all back together and make a bike. And that's all we're going to do today for this video. The video's gotten quite long, so I decided we're going to make this a two-part series. So make sure if you've watched this long, thanks, and stay tuned for the part 2 of this, the rest of the build. All right, we'll see you.